Imagine an astronaut. They're floating up there in zero gravity.
Oh,
It looks so peaceful, right? There's no resistance, no heavy lifting. But while they're floating there, just enjoying the view, something uh, something dangerous is quietly happening inside their body. Without gravity to push against, the muscles, they start to atrophy. They can lose up to 20% of their mass. Now, imagine that exact same process, but it's happening to your brain.
That's such a vivid image, isn't it? But it's also a little deceptive.
How so?
Well, with zero gravity, you know you're floating. You know something is wrong. But with this kind of cognitive atrophy, people feel productive. They feel like they're sprinting.
Right.
And that's the really dangerous part. You treat AI as a shortcut, you get the result, and you think, wow, I won the race. But really, you just skipped the workout entirely.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. It's Friday, January 30th, 2026. We are looking at a guide that just came out this morning from AI Fire by Max Ann, and it tackles this exact idea, this training your replacement trap. And I have to say, reading this, it made me a little uncomfortable. It suggests that by outsourcing the friction of work, we aren't just becoming efficient, we are becoming softer.
It's a harsh reality check for sure. We have this built-in assumption that easier is better. But the core argument Max is making here is that most professionals, smart people listening right now, are using AI to outsource the actual thinking.
Handing over the cognitive load.
Exactly.
So today, we're going to walk through a framework to reverse this. We need to talk about intelligent laziness, which sounds like a total contradiction.
It does.
Then we need to break down something called the DRAG framework for delegation. And then we have to talk about agents, because that whole landscape has just changed completely in the last 6 months.
And finally, my favorite part, this concept of the intelligent gym. Because if you're not using AI to make your brain sweat, you're probably using it wrong.
Okay, so let's start with the trap, the zero gravity effect. The source argues that, by just copy-pasting prompts and taking the first answer, we're weakening our analytical muscles.
Yeah.
But let me play devil's advocate here. Isn't the whole point of technology to remove friction? If I can get an answer in 10 seconds, why should I struggle for an hour?
That is the billion-dollar question, right? And the answer, really, lies in what you're struggling with. The guide introduces this idea of two curves, curve 1 and curve 2. If you remove the friction from everything, you flatline. But if you remove friction from the low-value stuff to free you up to obsess over the high-value stuff, well, that's where you win.
Okay, so break down curve 1 for me. Max calls this capped payoffs.
Yeah, this is what he calls the lazy zone. Just think about your week. How many tasks do you do where, honestly, trying harder just doesn't matter?
Formatting a slide deck.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Rewriting a status update. Scheduling meetings.
The source mentions a study from HBR, I think it was, that the average CEO spends 72% of their time in meetings, and most of them just don't move the needle.
Right. And there's a psychological trap here. It's called completion bias. You spend 2 hours making the font perfect on a slide nobody's even going to read. Your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine because you finished something.
But you added zero value.
Zero. So Max suggests this concept from Herbert Simon, a Nobel laureate, called satisficing.
Satisficing?
It's a mashup of satisfy and suffice. It basically means do just enough. The test question you should ask yourself is, what actually changes if this task is perfect instead of just good enough?
And if the answer is nothing,
then you're in curve 1. Be lazy, automate it, use AI to get it done and move on. Don't waste your energy there.
Which of course brings us to curve 2, the uncapped payoffs.
And this is the obsession zone. This is strategy, hiring, designing a new product. This is the kind of work where the effort to reward ratio is. It's exponential.
The example they gave was Steve Jobs obsessing over the circuit boards inside the very first iPhone. Stuff nobody was ever going to see.
Exactly. That wasn't efficient. It was, frankly, insane. But that obsession is what built the trust in the brand. If you use AI to automate the good enough stuff, you literally buy back the mental energy to be insane about the stuff that actually matters.
So it's not about working less. It's about reallocating the suffering.
I like that. Yes. Reallocate the suffering to where it pays dividends.
Okay, so let's get practical. If we're pushing all this curve 1 work to AI, how do we actually do it without losing quality? The source uses this acronym DRAG, D-R-A-G. And normally I hate acronyms. They feel so corporate. But this one felt descriptive.
It is. It frames the work that literally drags you down. Drafting, research analysis, and grunt work. Max claims 70 to 80% of repetitive work fits in there.
So let's strip this down. D is for drafting. You're saying this is the cure for writer's block.
Right. And this is where so many people get it wrong. They ask the AI to write the final email. No, you ask AI to break the inertia. You say, act as a senior product marketer, draft a launch email based on these 3 bullet points. It's not going to be perfect. It might be a C+.
But editing a C+ is way faster than staring at a blank page.
Infinitely faster.
Then you have research and analysis, the R and the A.
I like to group these two because they're really about data compression. We are all just drowning in information. We have like infobesity.
Infobesity.
Yeah. Too much intake, not enough processing. You can use an AI to crawl 20 websites, summarize all the themes, and then tell you where the gaps are. It can turn days of reading into minutes of reviewing.
I want to pause on the G, though.
Mm-hmm.
Grunt work. And specifically how this connects to decision-making. Because I see a real risk here. If I use AI to do my drafting and the research and all the formatting, at what point do I stop actually understanding the material myself?
That is the danger zone. And the guide has what it calls a golden rule for DRAG. You only, and I mean only, apply it to curve 1. You never, ever outsource judgment.
Okay, give me a concrete example. Let's say hiring someone.
Perfect example. Hiring has both curves. Scanning 1,000 resumes to filter for specific technical skills.
That's curve 1.
That's pure curve 1. That is analysis and grunt work. Give it to the AI. Let it do the filtering. But the interview, looking a candidate in the eye, deciding if they have the grit to survive a crunch period.
That's curve 2.
That's pure intuition. That's taste.
Yeah.
If you outsource that, if you ask an AI, should I hire this person? You're not being efficient. You're abdicating your responsibility. You're letting the muscle atrophy.
So the human in the loop isn't just a safety check.
It's the whole point. It's the only thing that keeps you relevant.
Okay, let's shift gears to the interaction itself. Because knowing what to delegate is one thing, but getting the model to actually do it well is another beast entirely. The source talks about the intelligent hill of prompting. And it starts with this comparison to quantum mechanics versus Newtonian physics.
Yeah, this is so key. We treat AI like it's a Google search. It's Newtonian. Input A leads to output B. It's predictable. But these large language models, they're probabilistic. They're quantum. They're just a cloud of possibilities.
Meaning you can ask the same exact question twice and get 2 different answers.
And we totally ignore that. We just type a prompt and expect a fact. But really, what we're doing is spinning a roulette wheel. So the whole intelligent hill is about stacking the odds in your favor.
Now, the first few camps on this hill are pretty standard. One shot means giving one example. Few shot means giving a few examples. I think most of our listeners get that. But I want to zoom in on the top of the hill. Camp 4. Agents.
This is the frontier.
The source drops a massive number here. Salesforce reported that AI agents drove over $67 billion in sales during Cyber Week.
Yeah.
That is not a typo. But I feel like the word agent is getting thrown around like a buzzword. What does it actually look like for a normal user?
Yeah.
How's it different from a chatbot?
It's the difference between a chat and a loop. Think of a standard prompt. You say, write me a travel itinerary for Tokyo. The AI just spits out a block of text. Done. It's linear.
Right.
An agentic workflow is a loop. You give it a goal. Plan a trip to Tokyo that optimizes for food and minimizes travel time. The agent doesn't just write. It pauses. It thinks. It breaks the task down. Step 1, search flight data. Step 2, search restaurant reviews. Step 3, cross-reference locations on a map.
So it's basically talking to itself.
Effectively, yes. And here's the magic part. It critiques its own work. It might find a great restaurant, realize it's closed on Tuesdays, and then it'll go back and find another one before it ever even shows you the answer.
So instead of me doing that loop prompting, checking, correcting, prompting again, the software does that entire loop for me.
Exactly. You move from being the writer to being the manager. You're managing a little digital employee that goes away, does the work, checks the work, and comes back with a polished result.
It sounds great, but it also sounds complicated. How does a normal person actually set that up? Do I need to be a coder?
6 months ago, yes. Today, no. Most of the major models, Claude, ChatGPT, with its new reasoning models, they're starting to do this natively. You just have to prompt for it. You have to say, don't just answer, create a plan, execute the plan, check your work for errors, then present the final result. You literally have to tell it to be an agent.
It's interesting. It feels like we're moving from search to service.
That's a great way to put it.
I just want to take a moment to digest that. Because if we have these agents doing all the heavy lifting, and we have the DRAG framework handling the boring stuff, what happens to us? Are we just the button pushers? The source pivots here to something called the intelligent gym. We'll unpack that right after this. We are back. We've talked about efficiency, we've talked about agents doing all the loops for us, but the part of this guide that really stuck with me, and honestly the part that made me feel a bit guilty, was this concept of the intelligent gym.
Yeah. This is the plot twist in the whole thing. Up until now, we've been selling you on removing friction, but the guide makes this really sharp distinction between a wheelchair and a gym. A wheelchair removes friction to help you move. A gym adds friction to help you grow.
And I'll be honest, I think I've been using AI as a wheelchair, summarize this article, explain this concept. It's just so easy.
We all do it. It's seductive. But if you use AI to bypass the struggle of learning, your brain gets soft. You're outsourcing the understanding. The intelligent gym is about flipping the script. You use AI to intentionally increase the difficulty.
Progressive overload.
Just like lifting weights. So instead of saying, summarize this book, you read the book. Then you go to the AI and you say, okay, I just read this. Here's my takeaway. Now quiz me on everything I missed.
The guide has these, levels of difficulty. Level 1 is quiz me like a high school student.
Yeah, that's gentle mode.
But level 4 is challenge me like an irate boss who thinks I'm unprepared.
Think about the value of that. Most of us are terrified of that scenario in real life. But with an AI, you can simulate it. You can role-play a high-stakes negotiation or crisis meeting, all in a safe environment. You're forcing your brain to defend its ideas against a machine that has basically read the entire internet.
So let's try this.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do this right now, say I was preparing for this deep dive, instead of asking AI to write the script, what should I have asked it?
You should have pasted your outline and said, critique this. Tell me where my logic is weak. Tell me which arguments a skeptic would completely tear apart. Be ruthless.
Be ruthless.
You have to invite the friction. You have to ask for the resistance, because that is the only way you actually sharpen your own thinking.
And this connects to the final piece of the framework, doesn't it? The intelligent fool.
This is my favorite part. It's all about the beginner's mind. We're all so afraid of looking stupid, especially in meetings, right? You don't want to be the one person asking, wait, what does that acronym mean?
There's a story in there about Satya Nadella at Microsoft.
Oh, it's a legendary story. When he took over in 2014, Microsoft was a culture of know-it-alls. It was apparently toxic. If you didn't know the answer to something, you were dead. Nadella shifted the entire culture to be about learn-it-alls.
And the market cap went from something like $300 billion to over $3 trillion.
Because they stopped pretending. And biologically, this really matters. Neuroscience shows us that our brains only rewire. We only actually learn when we make errors, when we feel that little spike of frustration.
So if you aren't feeling stupid, you aren't really learning.
Precisely. And AI is the ultimate tool for being an intelligent fool because it doesn't judge you. You can go to it at 2 in the morning and say, explain quantum computing like I am 5 years old.
And then?
Explain it again, simpler, give me a different analogy. You can strip away all the jargon without taking that ego hit in front of your colleagues.
You can practice failing.
You can practice failing, and that is a superpower. While everyone else is nodding along in the meeting pretending they understand, you've actually done the reps in the gym. You know the material deep down.
So we have a choice. The source describes it as a fork in the road.
It is. You can take what they call the high floor, low ceiling path. That's using AI for automation, lazy drafting, zero-shot prompting. You'll look productive, you'll clear your inbox, but you will hit a ceiling and your cognitive muscles will atrophy.
Or you choose the cognitive gym.
You use the DRAG framework to ruthlessly clear out that low-value curve 1 work. And why? So you have time to suffer. So you have time to climb the intelligent hill, build these agentic workflows, and use AI as a sparring partner to challenge your own worldview.
One path makes you dependent on the tool.
And the other makes you sharper because of the tool. It's the difference between looking smart because you have a smart assistant and actually becoming dangerously intelligent.
The source leaves us with one final challenge. It's a really simple one.
Open your prompt history. Right now, just look at the last 5 things you asked your AI.
I am almost afraid to look at mine.
It's a very sobering audit. Ask yourself, did I ask for an answer to save time? Or did I ask to be challenged so I could grow?
Did I use the wheelchair or did I use the gym?
Exactly.
I think I have some reps to do this weekend.
See you in the gym.